I'm now going to show you how to create this critical link in Photoshop. So we're going to go through around 10 tools, and I'm going to go through it in stages. So hopefully this will help you when you come to make your own research or critical link pages. So my research or critical link page is going to be on the work of Barbara Kruger. So like I suggested in the other tutorial, I have collected my images and I've also written a little paragraph about one particular piece, which is this here. So let's start from the basics. We're going to create a new document. So let's go to File and New. Now I'm already preset up to A4s. You guys might not have that set up as a preset. So if it is that A4 doesn't come up on your screen, just if you click print and then it has all these options here, so A4, A6, A5, etc. And what we're going to do today is we're going to work on an A4. So as you can see here, the dimensions have all been set. I'm going to be working in portrait. Pixels are set at 300 pixels per inch. Now the colour mode is set to RGB. Now this is going to be for screen. If it is that you were going to do this to be printed out, you just have to do the drop down and make sure that you click CMYK. But we're not going to be printing this. Let's keep this RGB and let's create. Now here is our file, the document, sorry, that we're going to be working on. So first things first, we're going to be putting those grids in. Now I've decided to split my image into two. So to add a grid, you simply just click to your ruler. So you can see here I've got a ruler on the top and I've got a ruler at the side. Now if it is that you can't see your rulers for whatever reason, if you just go to View and make sure the rulers are ticked, and they should appear then at the top and at the bottom. So then if I click on the side here and if I just click on my trackpad, and then it allows me to drag a guide across, and we're just going to move that in around 90. So that's 90 mil. I'm going to add another roughly 90 mil on the other side ish, about there. No, it needs to come in a bit more. About there. And then I'm going to split this into two. So I'm just going to click again here. I'm just going to move this across. So I want to split the page in two. So about there and about there. Because what I want is, I want this side of my page where the text is going to go to be slightly bigger than where my image is going to go. Now you can alter these, you can move them a little bit more if you need to. However, I think I'm quite happy with them set up like that. So the next thing I'm going to do is put a colour on the background, the red. Now in order to do this, I need to pick up the red that already exists in Kruger's work. So here are the images that I have opened in Photoshop. These are the ones that I'm going to be using. So this particular one, make sure that you're on your arrow tool, and then you just click on your trackpad or on your mouse and then drag that to your document you've just set up. So I'm still holding my mouse down or the trackpad, and then if I let go, there's the image here. Okay, now what I want is I need that colour red here on the screen. I want to use that colour red for the background of my image, because Barbara Kruger always uses that same red colour in the majority of her work. So to do that, you're going to have to use the pipette tool. So the shortcut for this is it's I on your keyboard. So if you click I, you'll get this little pipette sign. Now you can see here it's still on your toolbar. If you hold the tools down as well, can you see at the side here it gives the letter for the shortcut. So like say for instance the magic wand is a W, the arrow tool is a V. So if you ever need the keyboard shortcuts, they're always at the side of the tool anyway. So use the pipette. I'm just going to pick up that red. Now you can see that that's picked that up and put it on my palette. So I don't need this image for now, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on the eye on my layers here. Now again, if your layers aren't visible, just make sure you go to window, make sure you go to window and make sure layers is selected. So I'm just going to click the eye So I've not deleted the layer, I've just hidden it. So it's still there, and when I'm ready to use it, I can just click the eye and it will come back. So I'm going to click on my background, and now I'm going to fill this background with the colour red. So to do that, I'm just going to click on the paint bucket tool. Now for you guys, it might look like the gradient tool. If you click on the paint bucket, hold it down, and I'm just going to drop that red into the background. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the title of the page in the background just to break that red up a little bit. And to do that, we're going to add a text box. So I'm going to click here on my text box and draw a box like so. Now up here you've got the fonts, you've got the size, you've got the colour, etc. So I'm going to change the colour to white. Okay, and then I'm just going to type in Kruger's name, so Barbara. Highlight that, and then if you hover here next to where all the size is for your font is here, so you can change it like to 6 point, 72 point. Now if you hover over where the little T sign is next to the 72, you see like a little arrow that comes up with a hand. If you click on your mouse or on the trackpad and then just push that to the right hand side, can you see that the text is getting bigger? And it works the other way, so you can like scroll down and scroll back up. So I'm just going to make that bigger there, like so. And then I want to adjust what's called the tracking and the kerning. So in order to do that, you click here at the top, you just click on the little folder. Click on that, you'll get your character toolbar up. Now it's got all the sizes in, you can adjust the lead in, but this is the one we're focusing on for now. This is what's called the tracking. Now the tracking is the space between the characters, okay? So if I hover over where it says VA and push to the left, can you see that the space between the characters is getting smaller? Now I want it to be quite tight, because when you look at Barbara Kruger's typography, the text is always very close together. So I'm going to have it around -60-ish. When I'm happy, I'm just going to click. And now what I want to do now is turn this round so it's vertical. So at the minute my transform box has disappeared. In order to get that back, if you just go to the top of the screen where it says show transform controls, this will then enable me to turn this round. Now if you hold your shift key down on your keyboard, it will if you hold your shift key down on the keyboard, it'll allow you just to turn that round to 90. Okay, now when you're happy, you just click the tick. Let's move that guide back in there. So if I move this in, now obviously I want this to be the size of the page. So what I'm going to do is going to click back on my toolbar, my tool, type tool, sorry. I'm just going to open this box up, and I'm just going to increase the size of my typeface until it touches the side of the screen. Oh, can you see it's gone off a bit there? Cool. Like that. Okay. You can also, if you wanted to, you can use sort of the shift key and the toolbar to do to make your text bigger as well. So if you want to, you can just do that. Just be careful if you do the adjustment too much using the transform control. Sometimes you get a bit of pixelation on the images, so just be wary of that. Click tick. Now I want to write Kruger as well, so rather than me draw another box, I'm just going to duplicate this layer and edit the text. So to do that, I just click on the layer and drag it over the box that's next to the trash can, and what that does is it duplicates that layer. So now I've got two. I'm then just going to go to my type tool again, click on the T, and I'm just going to write Kruger now. There we go. So I'm just going to put them up against one another so they're touching. I might move them a bit more to the left. So click here, move it to the left. Same with that one. Okay. So they're a bit too big for that space, because can you see it's impeding on my area here where I'm going to put my text. So I'm just going to highlight those two layers, and then using the transform controls. I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller. There you go. There you go. Excellent. So now I'm going to put my images back in here. I'm just going to move that across a little bit. So this image I had before, I'm just going to click on that. So I'm going to have this the width of the page like so. I'm going to place it in the middle. Now can you see it does this thing where it snaps to the center? Now it's a preset that's in Photoshop. If it is that you want to turn that off, you can easily do that, but I always think it's quite handy as a feature to have. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to put my text box in. So again, go to the text. I'm just going to draw another text box here. And going to make this now around size 11. If you're ever doing body of text for whatever reason, you need to make sure that the body of text is never bigger than 11 point. Some people put like size 16 for like big chunks of typography. That's not correct. Whenever you look at a book or a magazine, the max size that you see body of text tends to be around 11 points. Because remember, you're looking at this piece of work from a distance. So the text I'm just going to borrow from here. Just go back. Okay. And then I'm just going to paste that in like so. I'm just going to open that up so it's the same width as my box. Now at the minute this is a bit too close, I think, to that text on the side, so I'm just going to move this in ever so slightly. Move that there. Make this a little bit bigger. Okay, and then go back to that text box here and move that in slightly. Now again, you can go up here and you can adjust your tracking. So if it is, at the minute I've got it -10, I'd probably have it slightly spaced out. It makes it easier to read. If it is you want to adjust the leading, so the leading is the space between the lines, if you just click here at the top where it says auto, you can actually create more space between those lines. Again, it makes it slightly easier to read. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this down to the bottom, around about here. And then this piece of writing is about a piece that she produced called Who Owns What. So I'm going to put that above the image. So here it is. I'm just going to drag that in, hold it, and then let go. Again, I'm just going to make this roughly the same width. There we are. Just going to move this down ever so slightly. Move that down as well. And then I'm going to put another title here at the top. So again, with the type tool, just draw a box. Right, Barbara. I mean, you get the idea of the type toolbox now. It's fairly easy to use. Again, you make that bigger. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to steal it from here. So you can see that I've stolen these. I'm going to show you how to make them in a second, so I'll just move them. So I'm just going to move the text across so it's the same width. Now, if you want to draw boxes behind the text here, the way to do that is to click on what's called the marquee tool. So the marquee tool is like a form of selection tool. So if you click on this and then draw a box around your text. So I might go all the way across. And what this does is, it's very similar to if you were using the lasso tool. It's just a selection tool. So now it'll only allow me to edit whatever is in this box. So what I want to do is fill that with colour. So in order to do that, I need to create a new layer first. So if you go to the bottom of your layers window, click on this little icon, and then I'm going to fill this with black, I think. So I've got the colour black on my palette. I'm going to go back to my paint bucket and just drop that colour in. Okay. Now, to get rid of the wiggly line, really simple, you can go to select and then click deselect, or if you want to use the keyboard shortcut, it's just Command and D. And there we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this layer because I want to put a colour box underneath who owns what. So I'm just going to drag that again to duplicate the layer over the little box next to my trash can. Click on the arrow tool and then this will allow me to move that under. Now I'm not sure about it being in black. I think I might change that to white. So to do that, I'm just going to go to my palette, double click, drag my colour picker to the white, and then using that tool again, the paint bucket tool, I'm just going to drop that in. Okay. Now another thing that I've added as well on the example that I showed you before is an outline onto text. Now this is slightly more complicated. It would be easier if you were doing this, say, in Illustrator or something like that. But what we have to do is we're going to get our text. So in this case, I'm just going to copy Barbara Kruger again. So here's my text layers here and I'm going to duplicate them. Again, drag it over the box next to the trash can. So then I've got my duplicates here. Now what I need to do with this is I need to convert these layers into an image. Because it being a text layer, it won't actually let me do anything. So I'm just going to highlight the Barbara Kruger and the Barbara and the Kruger copies. I'm then going to go to layer and I'm going to rasterize that type. And if you watch the layer, see how it's turned into an image now. So what we can do, we can flip this. So I don't want it, I want it to be almost like a mirror image. So in order to do that, I go to edit, transform, and I'm going to flip that horizontal. There you go. And then what I want to do is I want to create a stroke on the edge of this text. So I want to get rid of the white and just have like a white outline. So in order to do that, I'm just going to go to my magic wand tool. So now, unfortunately, you can only do one layer at a time. So let's do Barbara first. So click on the white and then click on Control and then click on your mouse. So you see when I click Control, I get a little sort of icon next to my cursor. If you click on that, go to Similar. Can you see how it's selected all my letters on that layer? I'm then just going to click Delete to get rid of the white from the inside of the text, and then clicking on go to Marquee tool next and then click on Control again and you come up with a menu that says Stroke. So if you click Stroke, you can then add the width. I tend to put no bigger than 10. You only want it to be a fine line. So I'm going to stroke it in white and I want it around 5 pixels width. Click OK. And then again, to deselect that, go to select and deselect, and you can see that I've got the outline of that text there. So very quickly do it again. So go to my magic wand. This time I'm on Kruger. Click your Control to Similar. Then we're going to click Delete. Then we're going to go to our Marquee tool. Click Control again to get up the submenu. Then click Stroke. As you can see, it's all preset now. 5 pixels, colour white, click, and then select and inverse. Okay. Oh, sorry, deselect. And then from there, we're just going to drag that underneath. And then if you need to, it's a bit bright, that really is a bit, the contrast is too high. I'm just going to click on the opacity and just reduce that down. It just adds a bit of texture onto that side. And that is how I've made this critical link. And thinking about it, I've actually only used around 6 tools. You tend to use the same tools over and over again. But look at how I've used the grid system. You can see immediately that the influence there of Barbara Kruger with the colour palette and, you know, the stripes with the text. And at the same time, by using that grid system, it's in order. You know, I can easily read it. It's easily accessible to the audience. So try yourself, have a go. As long as you just master those tools, you'll be able to make pretty much anything in Photoshop.